Hey everybody, Arnaldo here, and this is my PNW Custom 1 gallon all-in-one. Super excited about it, but just like my other tank, I'm gonna modify the light, and let's talk about why. Now the light itself is great. The problem is when you push the little button, you can dim the lights up and down, etc. But when you unplug it and plug it back in, it goes back to the lowest setting. That's a problem because if I put it on a timer, I don't want the lights at the absolute lowest setting. Now Harley and the team at PNW listened because on this version, it's basically off and on. And you know, it almost looks like when you turn it off, let's go ahead and turn it off for a second. We'll turn it back on. It slowly ramps up, but I'm still gonna modify it. And here's why. The UV lights, the LEDs there are not that strong. Now that's nothing that they did wrong. It's just the way that it's wired. You gotta take that up with the factory, and believe me, from somebody that works with some of these factories, it can be a little difficult to get them to retool the whole thing. Plus, I wanna be able to modify the brightness and everything else. Let's take this apart. Take a very fine-tipped screwdriver or knife and just slice all the way down there. Now I took these off to take this end, the little stand off, and it didn't quite work the way I wanted it to. As a matter of fact, I'm actually gonna now use that to get the screwdriver in there and finish opening the rest of this up. Because yeah, this is glued on there. Once you get that out of there, you're gonna bend it back a little bit, stick a screwdriver and pop it off. See the tabs right there? Done. Let's go ahead and take a look here. The voltage coming in on this board, it's about 2.68 volts. This could go higher. We don't see a potentiometer at all, so let's get rid of this entirely. Now this is important to note. USB devices are 5 volts, and the standard allows a maximum of half an amp through a standard USB-A port, which is what the light has. Now we're gonna take a 5 volt, 3 amp power supply. 3 amps is way more than plenty. Technically you could do 5 volt, 1 amp. So knowing that, why is the device only operating at 3 volts? Most likely they did that either to keep it from being too bright, because it is a very powerful light as you're about to see. But I want those UV lights working. I know that once I push a little bit more voltage through it, I'll be able to get those UV lights on. Let's try it out. If you don't have a soldering gun, don't fret. You can literally take your nail right underneath there and pop it right off, which is what we did. Now, I don't need this, but I'll probably keep this and put it on a nice little miniature. Damn it, I just pulled a Linus. I'll probably keep this, put it in a project box like I did my other one, because this makes a great little USB hub right here. Strictly for power. From researching this board through the manufacturer, I did find that this can support up to about 5 volts with give or take 1. So I could probably push 6 volts through here. We're gonna do 5, it'll be fine. Now, how do LEDs dim? They don't dim like a traditional light bulb where you just take the dimmer, bring it down, and then less electricity is sent to the bulb, like for example, let's say a filament, and you're good. No, LEDs don't do that. And that's why if you notice some LED bulbs say non-dimmable, because you can't just put them on a dimmer circuit. Instead, they work through what's called pulse width modulation. Basically, it's like a little strobe, and the more you dim it down, the slower it strobes. Now, we can't see that strobe, but because it's slower, at least to the LED, it looks like it's darker. When it's pulsing faster and faster and faster until it's solid on, that's the brightness. But our eyes are not fast enough. Because of that, you can't just put a regular potentiometer. You need something that's called a PMW, Pulse Width Modulation Potentiometer, or POT. And that's this guy right here. See those little chips right there? That's to drive the LEDs in that PMW. Now this is pretty simple. We have our power in and out, and then motor, which is the LED. So we're gonna bring the power in and out from the surge. So we're gonna bring the power in and out from a DC board. So we're gonna wire some power in from a DC power supply, and this is going to go directly to the LEDs. Let's figure out first where we're going to put it. On my last one, I actually had it right here. Pretty simple. On this one, I might actually I could keep it right there. The problem is this guy right here. We're gonna have to shave that off because that's not gonna let me get it all the way in. So I think the only good place that I could do it was right there. So we're gonna stick with that. Now, once I put that in, this is not gonna go all the way in. So I'm gonna have to take my Dremel. We're gonna shave a little bit of this plastic off without hurting the LED board. And yeah, we should be good. This I'll probably just leave as is if I do it that way. But this has to come off. Now, theoretically, I could put it here because this is already shaved up. The only problem is right there, that's not gonna be enough to turn the potentiometer. I also thought maybe not using this, drilling a very, very small hole, and then I can use a screwdriver to adjust this however I want. And I think we're gonna do that. We're gonna need one of these guys here. This is a standard DC jack. I think it's like 2.3 or whatever the size is. But basically we're gonna put this towards the back. Everything's gonna plug in. And then it's gonna be wired to this, the power in and out. There's a super simple one, and you basically stick the screwdriver through there. I could extend it a little bit. I could have gotten the knob, but I wanted to make it a little cleaner. And I think this is perfectly great for me. You might think, man, that kind of sucks having to stick a screwdriver to adjust it, but I'm in car audio, and if you're in car audio, if you know, this is how we adjust things. And there it is. Now, I'm gonna take the screwdriver here. Oh, it's a heck of a lot brighter. Wow. You can really see those UV lights now coming through. And I like this little modification better than this one. There it is with the knob there. I like it because, well, you don't have that big old bump that was there before. And that's from the potentiometer board being towards the side there. Like I said, I was gonna try have it out here, but it would still be the same issue. Here, did not have to extend the cables. Did not have to extend the cables. This looks a lot cleaner. But just like the other one, I can modify it. I can have it, you can see right there, the UVs are still on. Bring it all the way up, and the UVs are still nice and bright. Now, without the individual specs of the LEDs, I couldn't tell you why it works that way, but I think what's happening is that these UV LEDs, because UV LEDs, true UV, which these seem to be true UV, they require a lot more power than a traditional LED. So I think what's happening is that because they're not getting the proper voltage, they just don't turn on all the way. And once you have it on a proper potentiometer that does pulse width modulation, these are not dimmable. I don't think that those, like you can see them dim a little bit, but there's a slight flicker. So I don't think that the UV LEDs, I think they can dim, but I don't think they're flicker-free UV LED. I don't know, it could just be a coincidence. I'm not seeing it with this light, but I did see it with this one. So there's definitely a difference in the LEDs being used, but it's still the same thing. The UVs are just not as powerful as they should be because it's being driven by 3 volts. Now, I need to make this very clear. I don't think this is the fault of PNW. As a matter of fact, Harley knows this is something that he's been trying to work with the factory and all that to make those UV brighter. Does this mean the light is no good if you don't modify it? Absolutely not. The light works great, and standalone by itself, I've seen it grow SPS. But I can tell you that now that I've got that UV and there's no filter on my, well, give me a second here. Excuse my mess of an office, but you can see there's a white mixer, and there's this right there, okay? There is no filter on my phone whatsoever, and the colors just come out so much better, especially the whites. The whites pop out a little nicer too. Oh, and it's a fun little add-on. You could put this back in, screw it in. Obviously, don't connect the LEDs back on. I would actually put a little bit of tape in here just to prevent any shorts if you wanted to use this as a hub. But the whole point is it's supposed to look clean. Now the power is coming out of the side and you're good to go. Now, if you're doing this with the micro tank, which has this shorter handle, I literally have my light drilled up against the wall there. Get a 90-degree piece, and that way it looks much cleaner, and then you can just have it going down the side there. So hey, I hope this helped out. I'm gonna put the link on my YouTube channel, so if you're watching this on YouTube, if not, find me under Arnaldo's Aquariums, but I'm gonna put the link to everything, super cheap. It was less than like 10, 15 bucks to modify this thing. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Good night, and God bless.